Question: what is Honda's biggest selling motorcycle in the world? Not including scooters, but worldwide, the biggest seller is the CRF300L. So what is it? Is it a trail bike? Is it an enduro bike? Is it a motocross bike in disguise? Well, it's definitely a trail bike. I mean, of course, it's sold in many developing countries where it's used as everyday transport, often on roads that aren't very good. It may look like one of the CRF450R motocross bikes, but actually it's not even an enduro bike. Honda has that covered with the CRF250RX and the 450RX, which are based heavily on the motocross bikes. The CRF300L is definitely a trail bike. Now, what does that mean? Well, it's got rear pillion foot pegs, it's got all the proper road running gear on it, and importantly, it's about half the price of those top-of-the-range enduro bikes. And also, it doesn't come with anything like the maintenance schedule that they do. So a top-of-the-range KTM or Husqvarna is based on their motocross technology, and these bikes need serious looking after, where the CRF300L will go for months and months, probably years, without any serious work. The service intervals are huge, the engine isn't highly stressed, it's made so you can have a little bit of fun on the road, get into the trails, and then do a little bit of green laning. But actually, it's a lot more capable than that, and loads of people are doing a lot more off-road than these bikes really were designed for. And it's this reputation as a great all-round machine that's seen it as a sellout all across the world. So people are reporting up to a year or even more waiting list to get a brand new CRF300L, although some countries is easier than others. And some countries, like the USA, you get dealers charging a huge premium on top just to get your hands on one. Luckily that doesn't happen in the UK, but there still can be a lengthy wait unless you get it lucky with your dealer. If you look at it compared to a proper competition bike, you can see where corners have been cut and why it's about half the price of some of the very top ones. The suspension is quite crude. Lots of the steelwork, like the foot pegs and the brake lever and the handlebars, are all cheap steel rather than more expensive stuff. There's a heavy steel exhaust on it, all the things like chain adjusters, everything is definitely made to be cut price. But that means more people can afford it, and more people are buying these bikes than any other trail bike in the world right now. So what we'll be doing is taking this bike, using it on some trails, putting it through a bit more tough enduro stuff, and modifying it to see what we need to do to make it a really good off-road bike. It only takes one ride on the road to notice that the suspension is absolutely awful. It's kind of set up for a 60-kilogram rider, and if you weigh anything more than that, I obviously do, and so do our test riders, then it's absolutely hopeless. On the front, there's no adjustment whatsoever. No preload, no compression, no rebound damping, nothing. And there's just one spring in one side, and you can't do anything with it to stiffen it up. But more of a problem is the back end. The rear shock is really basic. Again, with no damping adjustments, no compression or rebound damping. All there is spring preload. You can tighten the preload up a little bit, and that makes a little bit of difference, but actually for most riders, the spring is too soft and the shock is just not up to the job. You can get stiffer springs for it, you can also get stiffer springs for the forks, and actually they don't work too bad. But if you put a stiffer spring on the back, all this does is overpower the damping, so it rebounds too quickly, and of course none of this is adjustable. Just riding along the road, it sags really badly at the back, so much so that you're kind of hanging onto the bars to stop yourself falling off the back of the bike. The headlights pointed up in the air and things aren't good. Take it on even basic off-road, a little bit of gravelly stuff, and the front end's washing out all over the place because the balance is all wrong on the bike. There's nothing to be done with it really in standard form. So absolutely the first thing to do to this bike is to modify the suspension. Or when we say modify it, what we did, we completely changed the back end. This costs money and puts the price of the bike up, but you start with a cheap bike and you get something that's really pretty damn good for not a huge amount of money. So at the back end, lots of companies, including K-Tech, where we went, sell different springs for it. K-Tech sells 3 different springs for the standard shock. The best thing to do is to put on a shock that's adjustable and is so much better made than the standard one. We went with the K-Tech Razor-R shock, which is £528. Now this is an easy bolt-on job. Take a little bit of the bodywork off the back, take the seat off, and it's a bolt on the top, a bolt on the bottom. It took us about 20 minutes to do it. Absolutely easy with just hand tools. Now what this shock does, it has adjustable compression damping, which is how slow it compresses, and adjustable rebound damping, which is how fast it comes back. Now K-Tech already sell 3 different springs for this shock, and you specify your weight when you buy it, and they set it up in the factory, so when you get it, it's as close to being bolt-on as possible. Of course, no suspension's perfect, but it gets you in the ballpark. It really is a bolt-on solution that works incredibly well. But at the front, it's a different story. So the standard forks are made by Showa and are actually good quality on the outside, but on the inside it's a really basic system with a spring in just one leg. You can buy stiffer single springs to pop inside the forks. It's pretty easy to do and it will stiffen them up a little bit. It's a budget option. These single springs from K-Tech cost £69 each, but if you can afford another £198, you can actually get a piston kit which goes inside the forks and transforms the damping. However, it's not really a do-it-yourself job, although you can if you're a decent mechanic. But what we wanted to do was have a look at what was inside their top of the range kit. We went with the full cartridge kit that goes inside both legs. This is the 20 IDS kit from K-Tech. It costs £687 plus another £49 for a set of springs to match your weight to go inside the forks. However, this isn't a job that you really want to do yourself unless you really know suspension and have all the special tools to do it. So we took the bike along to James at FTR Suspension because he's a man who knows so much about motorcycle suspension and especially off-road. Over there they service and sell everything pretty much, WP, Ohlins, all the K-Tech stuff, and James has had so many bikes apart, he knows what's good and what isn't. So we handed him over our bike, let him do the hard work. So let's take a look at how he fitted the full fork kit to the bike and what he said about it.
Different colour cartridges, the idea just being says colour coordinated, so you've got compression adjuster this side, rebound adjustment on this side, hence the feed differences as well, so it feeds oil in from the bottom of here for the rebound, and then opposites here, feeds them from the opposite direction. But obviously the only thing you will see once it's fitted is top cap, so again they've done the same colour coordination just to make it easy so you can see at a glance.
So at the moment, just removing the grub screw out of the foot because
They tighten the foot onto the stanchion, and the grub screw is just purely so that the stanchion can never start to move. So it's just a safety feature from production. The issue is sometimes it will damage the thread, so sometimes you have to clean the thread up. Rebound right, red adjuster. Rebound red right. How much easier could you make it?
Yeah.
The Italian's gone rebound, yeah, left. Obviously, you know, why wouldn't you do that? It's just a case of just bleeding this up, and we're pretty much done. You know, all the hard part is done now. You've got your compression adjustment and rebound, and then an external preload as well. I'm sort of 85 kilos, and the standard spring is not even close. You know, so it's not a case of it just comes up a little bit soft. You're probably looking more like a 60, 65 kilo rider to make the standard spring work. So the standard fork, no adjustment, there's no compression, no rebound, no preload. The only thing you can really do is change the air gap inside the fork. You can change the spring rates. K-Tech do the various spring rates for the separate function style. They do a piston kit as well, but generally, yeah, to get external adjustment, you've got to go for the full cartridge kit to get something fully adjustable. The K-Tech products, you can see that they're finished well. It's just the machining. It looks nice. It looks. Compared to some there are a few cartridge kits out there that still do look well, they're machined well, but they're not quite as refined. Their adjustment isn't quite as good. So although they will look similar, these are clearly, they do look nice when they're built. It's more once you get them into the bike, you can feel a better scope on the range of adjustment. So when you're adding a couple of clicks of compression or rebound, you can feel that you've adjusted that compression or rebound. So yes, like I say, they are a good kit. And the most important job is obviously to make sure that your stickers are definitely facing forward. Set a bike up through that.
Yeah.
I can't push that as fast. You're going to hit a bump and feel a square edge bump, feel any kind of high speed movement. What you can feel, how much tension's on the spring. That's all you're feeling, is tension on the spring and the spring rate itself. That you can feel. Same as with the shot, you can feel the spring tension, the rating of it. That's it. Other than that, it's if the rebound is excessively fast, you can notice it. If it's really quite slow and feels quite dead, you notice it. If you've got so much compression on there that you do feel like you're resisting it, you notice. If it's a long way out. But yeah, people that can do that, it needs an extra click of compression. You're a lunatic. You can't do that adjuster. You think by the time you've actually got the flow of oil through the shim stack there, you've got so many different parts of that shim stack, that's going to control everything, the amount of oil that gets the entire stack. So you've got low speed, high speed and everything in between, all being controlled. But yeah, it needs to be ridden. You have to ride it, see what you think. The most important thing is, does it turn properly? Does it hold itself into a rut? Does it feel, if you're doing a lot more high speed stuff, does it feel stable when you're going in a straight line? If you hit a square edge bump in a straight line, does it feel like it's nervous? Does it feel like it just tracks through it okay? And find that balance point of, one rider might be more than happy to make it turn a bit faster and compromise on a straight line. It's a bit nervous. That's fine. But if you'd rather it be nice and stable and you understand it's going to be a little bit harder to turn into a corner, that's fine. There's not really a right and a wrong setup. It's what do you like as a rider? What are you looking for? As long as it does what you want it to do and you understand that there are compromises every step of the way, then that's fine, isn't it? That's all you've got to try and look out for is, what do you personally struggle with, and that's what we'll focus on.
And the compression adjuster, is that high speed or low speed, or does it affect both?
It will affect both. I mean, the main thing I sort of see people do is they'll try and use a compression adjuster because they've dropped off of something really big, or it's like a jump on a track or something like that, and then they're winding the compression adjuster in to control it. And actually that's quite an ineffective way of controlling a bottoming out fork. We use spring rating or oil level to control the bottoming resistance. Same as then if you're at the top part of the stroke, if it feels a bit twitchy coming in, you can start to catch that a little bit on the compression adjuster, but realistically, fork position and preload on those springs is going to adjust how it comes in. It's more using your compression adjuster. So if you're hitting a rolling bump and you think, well, I've already got the preload as far as I can go on without it starting to feel nervous coming into a corner, and now it still feels, say, too soft when you're hitting a big rolling bump, now we can start increasing some compression damping. Same as if you've got the spring rates and if everything is set correctly and you're still finding that it just bottoms out a little bit on a heavy landing, you can use the extra 1 or 2 clicks just to control that. What you can't do is, if the bike is undersprung, you can't catch it on a compression adjuster. It doesn't work like that. Same with, it's working out. A lot of people will try and use a rebound adjuster first. The rebound adjuster, that's normally the last thing you're going to be looking at. On these, because you've got separated like compression and rebound, the great thing is adding compression doesn't have an effect on the rebound, and vice versa. Whereas a lot of standard forks, you're going to have compression and rebound on the same circuit. So if you're adding 6 turns or clicks of compression on a really sandy, loose track or bark wood chip track, you've got to open the rebound slightly to try and recover that lost damping. Whereas obviously on these, you haven't got, that's not a thing because you've got 2 completely different circuits running in there. Obviously the shock does have that issue slightly. The more rebound you add, the more compression has to be removed. But yeah, it's just, I say, compression first is the most important thing really, and then rebound is something to look at after that, I'd say.
So after James had fitted the suspension, we went out for a ride on the road and on some green lanes, and it was really easy to see it was absolutely transformed. The bike was so much better over the rough stuff. It handled so much better even on the road because the balance of the bike was so much improved. And off-road, it was night and day difference. So much so that we took it to our local motocross track where our resident tester Dave Willet did a few laps on the motocross track and then rode through the woods to see just how good the bike is. And Dave was really impressed. It only had the standard trail tyres on, so we couldn't really push it, but that didn't stop him cranking it over in the berms, getting a little bit of airtime and having lots of fun in the woods. Now, by adjusting the suspension on the compression and rebound on the both sides, this really helps you not only balance the bike, but get it dialed in properly. We've ridden it a couple of times now, and we're going to do a little bit more tweaking, and we'll report back in a later date. And also, eagle-eyed viewers might notice that yes, we've replaced the exhaust on this bike. Why? Because the standard one was a little bit quiet, very heavy, so we went with a Yoshimura. We've also got loads of aftermarket parts that we're fitting to this bike very soon. We're changing the tyres, we're putting different handlebars on, we're putting a different brake pedal on, changing the foot pegs for something a bit more beefier, and changing the air filter and a few more other cool things. So check back soon to see what we've been up to on the CRF300L as we turn it from a pretty damn good trail bike into something that's a great trail bike and fantastic on the green lanes.